Okay, we got a little bit of a trip hazard on the curb right here. That's beyond the scope of this inspection, but here we are. And our trees, the tree shouldn't be closer than 25 feet to a slab foundation structure. Looks like we've gotten some repair here on the driveway, a little bit of cracking on the driveway. And then we've also got, this is a symptom of foundation repair right here. So right here we should have, okay, should have been kick-out flashing, and the rain gutter's too close to the wall. And then we go up here, and you see over there, kick-out flashing is missing, and you can't. I saw it walking up, and now the sun is in our eyes. Maybe I'll get another picture of that later, or I use a still image, which you can see that the brick is darker there where the water's been spraying down in direct contact with it. Now, brick is a very good building material. This home could burn down and you can reuse the brick. Okay? It's a great insulator, but a characteristic of brick is that it is porous and water really runs right through it. And so what happens is that when we build a house, architecture is regional, we know that, we build the house to accommodate this characteristic with the building material. So behind the brick, we have a drainage plane. And that drainage plane comes down and manifests itself. I mean, we got weep holes. Now, most of the time, the only thing that's going to come out of those weep holes, the only thing that you won't even be able to see it, will be water vapor. If you have an event, water can come out, I get that. But otherwise, it's just vapor. We have no weep holes over here between the door and the garage. And then, okay, the reason why we have weep holes around the perimeter of the foundation, okay, is because the drainage plane, the brick, the porous brick I was talking about, and the moisture that comes down, the drainage plane ends here. The drainage plane ends here. So that's where the weep holes go. And then we come along and we install metal lintels over our windows and doors, okay, fenestrations, if you will. Now this big metal lintel is what's holding the brick up, and the brick is a very good building material. But we've disrupted the drainage plane, and anytime you have a lintel that's holding up brick, you should also have weep holes there, and we don't have them. And that silicone looks like it's a new application right there. We got foam up underneath here. Think that's going to trap the water? I do. The rain gutter is supposed to be about 1 inch away from the wall, so we're collecting water here. Okay. Another thing about the foundation while we're here is this foundation has a parge coat. Okay. It's kind of like a cake frosting. It's aesthetic. And a parge coat, excuse me, is conducive to wood destroying insects. It's conducive to termites. Okay, because the parge coat moves different than the concrete and creates a void. And then the termites take advantage of that void because termites live in the ground. They have to stay in contact with the ground, but subterraneans do. Drywood does. But Formosean doesn't. But termites need to stay in contact with the ground. And then you create that void, and they're blind, and they want to be safe, and they've evolved over millions of years, and so they're pretty good about hiding, and they can use this parge coat to their advantage. Another thing that's conducive to wood destroying insects is shrinkage cracks. Okay, there's a shrinkage crack right there. If it's in the span of a hand, I don't know whose hand, and goes in this direction, it's not an issue. It's not a foundation issue. Even though we've got some symptoms of foundation repair, that crack is not a foundation issue. It's a foundation problem. I'm going to put it as a deficiency. And if we do a wood destroying insect report, a termite report, I'm going to write it in the report. But it's not a foundation failure issue. We're still going to be looking at the foundation. We've been talking a lot about termites. Where do they live? In the ground. Oh. What do they eat? Dead wood? Oh. What's wood mulch? Dead wood on the ground next to your house? It's called a clue. It's called a clue. We move on around. This door lock is a little difficult to work, but I recommend replacing the door locks when you move in regardless. And then we have a little ring type or AT&T. But anyway, a little smart doorbell that I push the button. It does ring. We have exterior light fixture and exterior receptacles like this. Now some people might say this is on the front portico. And it's kind of covered. It's kind of checked out. Some people might say that. But it's only 3 feet from the exterior here. These receptacles should have had protective in use is what they're called. Protective like bubble covers, like little helmets or whatever, visors or something, so that you can plug your Christmas lights in and close it. As it is, if you close your Christmas lights with these, then the lights are, the connection between your Christmas lights and receptacles exposed to the weather. Moving on along, of course, we do not have the weep holes, and we do not have kick-out flashing. And I want to get up in there and look a little bit, and I will. Trees too close. We already talked about that, right? Sorry, my allergies are just killing me today. Okay. What we got in here? We got a gas meter. Okay, that gas meter. See all that piping in there? It should be painted where it's connected to the wall. Okay, and it's not accessible. Even though it's okay to have a shutoff valve that requires a wrench at this part of the gas piping, okay, but it still doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be accessible just because a wrench valve is allowed. So you should cut out, you should have 30 inches of clearance around your gas meter. Moving on along, rain gutters should divert the water several feet away from the structure. They shouldn't terminate this close to the home. Okay, so that's what they're doing. Coming on along, I see that we've got some soffit vents, so that's going to clue me in on what to look at in the attic. Coming around, our windows are double pane vinyl frame windows. This is called a control joint. Okay, you should not, but we don't usually build a house in North Texas with this much brickwork without having some control joints around to take some of the movement. If you don't have a control joint, the house will make its own control joint. So that's there for a purpose. Now, this is a sealant. This is not the same. This is not brick and mortar. This is a sealant. And what does sealant do? It gets hard and shrinks. It dries and shrinks. Okay. So every couple of years, you want to come, check that out. This is gas coming in. Of course, we've got a gas meter coming into the house. And after the fact, we've come in and we've added what looks like a gas connection going to the kitchen cooktop. That's my first guess. Okay. And that's fine. That's fine. But it should have been painted. The connection should have been painted, just like the other gas piping. And coming along here, this window's got a good thing I just want to show you. With this window, okay, we've got some cap flashing right there. Now we've gone and come from the kitchen, or if we come from the attic, probably the attic, I don't know. But we don't have any power or whatever, but we brought power over here. Now see this conduit? See the way it's away from the wall like that? Okay. Well, when I get home and start writing my report, I'm going to reach out because this piping is awful close to the brickwork. And being close like that, water will wrap around the pipe and go into the brickwork. It does not look correct to me, but I don't know what to cite. Okay? Just because I don't like it doesn't make it wrong. But we need to find out a little more about this because I'm interested. And then up here in our soffit, you see that little hole up there? I got a still image of that. Okay, we got a rat hole. So the mice run up, around, and up, and go up into your attic. And that's kind of interesting because we got a rat hole, and then we're pulling electricity. And I just, who knows? Are they connected? I don't know. Come on. There we go. Okay, moving on in. When a brick touches the house, that's conducive to wood-destroying insects. Not very feasible, I know. Kind of a long shot, I get it. Everybody wants a fence by design, but just calling your attention. Rain gutters too close to the house, again. You know what I haven't found so far? It doesn't seem like I found. Okay, I haven't noticed much in the way of cracking, you know, except for the corners. This is a great example of the parge coat. Look at that. That's a great example of the parge coat, what a parge coat is. And then also it's a great example of the corner. Okay, why do those cracks come out on the corners like that? I already talked about the parge coat. Just because the cake which is like a cake frosting. Just because the cake frosting is cracked doesn't mean your foundation is cracked. See, we can see that. And just because it's not cracked doesn't mean your foundation isn't cracked. And then, okay, there's the parge coat. That's the void that I was talking about earlier. Okay, that's the void that they create. Now, brick is continuously growing. You'll never be able to measure it. The concrete's continuously shrinking. Again, you'll never be able to measure it. The pressure comes out on the corners, and that's why you have these, okay, they're called shrinkage cracks, because the concrete's shrinking. They're called shrinkage cracks. A lot of people call them corner pops. I think I might have just done that, because so many call them corner pops that everybody knows what you're talking about when you say it. Okay. Not everybody, but, you know, yeah, any tradespeople. We, again, are missing our kick-out flashing here. Now I might be able to actually walk on some of this roof, but a lot of the roof I won't be able to. Okay, see we got exhaust box fence. Where are you? Come on. Can you, I was trying to steer it. Okay, on our patio, okay, on our patio post, okay, we got saddles underneath them, but we do not have stands. And then we also have some checking. Okay, now we should have stands underneath the post so that water doesn't wick up inside the brickwork. Okay, and then also in regard, and that's the key to the house. In regard to the checking, okay, I went to the lumber yard and I talked to him. I said, what is this? When, you know, a while back ago, when I was collecting my 30 years of experience. And they informed me that this doesn't, the lumber yard says, this doesn't affect the strength or the integrity. It's a natural product of cedar. We got a cedar, and this is just what you get. If you want cedar posts, this is it. This is the deal. It says, at some point, somebody's going to decide not to take the stick. That's what they call them, you know, boards, lumber. Okay, somebody's just going to choose not to take it off the shelf. You know, from an aesthetic issue, it just looks like it can't work for them. The client won't appreciate it or whatever. And so, you know, it goes to that. But the actual fact that you got some checking here is not a structural issue. Wiring coming down. We got a little camera right there. Hello. Howdy, howdy. We do not have weep holes. Got a little bit of stress crack right up in there. Okay, kind of coming around. There's some construction marks from the pencil when they added this on eventually. We do not have a bubble cover. See, so when you plug in your alarm, like that, you do not have the in-use cover. So now water can get up in there and, you know, compromise your security system. We do not have an in-use. At one time there was an in-use cover here, and we just took that thing off. Probably because it was so close to the door traffic. I can only guess. Looking here. The patio has been resurfaced. Some of these screens are looking a little worse for wear. Right there, that's the worst screen I've seen so far. You see that little booger right there? Okay. I do. Coming on along. Okay, this exterior faucet right here, I haven't looked at the front one, but I do not see an anti-vacuum breaker. In fact, these are real fine threads.
So a garden hose will not hook up to this. The garden hose threads are much coarser than this. A vacuum breaker device has fine threads on it so it can fit onto this, and then coarse threads on it so that the garden hose can fit to it.
So we've lost our vacuum breaker. Coming on around. Let's see, we got 2 condensing units. Oh, I want to get my ladder over here for sure. That just looks like a little hodgepodge right over there. Okay. Just kind of some gobbledygook. Okay, we got a little inconsistencies. What's happened? Oh, because we got a little valley right here where we're attached. Okay, I'm getting a better view. Rain gutter's too close. This is the vacuum breaker I was telling you about.
This is the vacuum breaker right here. That's what's missing on the other faucet.
Alright, we got 2 HVAC systems. Another one of those control joints I was telling you about. See that? I'll talk about that in another video. We got a clean out over here.
No, that's not a clean out. That is a termite bait station.
That's the first one I've noticed. Are they around here somewhere? Now when you have them like that, is that what you are? No? You're not? Okay, that's a sprinkler valve. And we're missing the cap on it. Okay. The zone valve. Okay, with these bait stations, they have to be maintained. They have to be maintained. If you don't maintain them, then okay, termites. Remember what I was talking about how many millions of years they have evolved being blind? Okay, they travel with pheromones. Okay, they have sex pheromones, they have food pheromones, they have danger pheromones. When the termites come up to this bait station, okay, they're putting out food pheromones so that all their friends know to come eat. And then they go back and they take the poison to mama, and you kill the queen and the colony collapses. It's excellent, man. Excellent warfare. I mean, that's devious, but that's how it's done. Now, a professional can install this, or you can get the same things as a consumer. So I don't know if it was professionally treated or not. And even whether it was a professional or a consumer, you have to maintain them, because if all the termites lay down all these pheromones coming to this so that to eat the poison to take home to mom, but you know, now she's gone, new colony, other guys are foragers are coming around, scouts, you know, and they go like, oh, I picked up a food pheromone, and they come over here, and so a whole new generation gets to not be annihilated unless all the bait, all the product, all the poison, if it's gone, then they show up this far, they're not just going to give up and turn around and go home. Okay, they're going to want, they're hungry. They've been told there's food around here. Where do you think they're going to go if this cafe is closed? They're just going to have to eat at the restaurant. They're just going to have to eat here. Okay. Okay, hell, I'll do it. Okay, see this piping right here coming out over the window, and that piping coming out over the window? Okay, that's on purpose. That's your secondary drain pipes for your condensing units. So if your primary gets clogged, the secondary drips out of a window, you know you have a problem, and you can call a technician, because this is your emergency drain. That's not your primary drain. Your primary drain clogged. If your primary drain can clog, so can your secondary drain. If your secondary drain gets clogged, it's going through your ceiling. Coming on along, this is our electric meter. We'll have a whole video for that too. There's our electric meter, okay. Why can't I get through here? Is it still running? Okay. This is a freeze board right here. We got a little bit of a gap in our freeze board right there. We do not have kick-out flashing. And the water runs down this roof, runs right down here, right over the window that does not have the weep hole. Okay, connect a few dots here. We're, asking for it. We are asking for it. Rain gutters should not discharge water directly onto the roof covering. All right, it's going to wear out faster that way. We already talked about the wood mulch, right? Coming on along. That's that very first shrinkage crack. This is where we started. This is where we started. What I found was a little bit of freeze board movement, a little bit of cracking in the mortar, like around the breakfast area patio door. And that's about it. That is about it.